Fantasy football busts of week 4. First things first, Bengals, enough is enough. What do you want us to do? My calf feels like it got run over by a Zamboni. Joe, stop playing
Jordan
that.
Love is your quarterback. Jordan Love. Jordan Love is a project quarterback, played 2 games his final year in college against top 25 teams, and all he did is throw interceptions. Jordan Love.
Mad Dog, are you buying what Stephen A. is saying?
You're a phony. That is unbelievable. Because Jerry Jones takes it in a helicopter once in a while, all of a sudden you like the Cowboys? You know, they can win.
Did I say I like the Cowboys?
Well, they can get to the Super Bowl, I'm okay with it.
What I said is
come on.
they've suffered enough. They've suffered. Chicago Bears are trash. Let's just call it what it is. They're not a good organization. Okay, you really breaking it down. Look at me when I'm talking.
You haven't seen the Lions. Now you have, and the rest of the NFC has to be a little nervous there. David Montgomery rushed for 121 yards, 3 touchdowns.
The Rush Report.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Rush Report. Again, we are sorry that we missed last week, but I feel like our Rush reviews and Rush reports written down went over pretty well. It seemed like everybody seemed to like those, but we're back in the saddle here on the Rush Report. Nick, congratulations on being the only undefeated team in the Bigs.
Yeah, Dave wants to unseat me for sure.
He might do it this week. I'm just gonna say.
No.
I think he took it personally. I think he went Dion this week or last week.
Yeah, how'd that work out for Colorado?
It didn't work out, but he took it personally, and he got his first win last week. So it was good to see that, and good to see us moving along and getting some feedback from everything. I love that we're getting back to the days of having some feedback and interaction with everybody as we try to grow this league back up.
Have more people interacting. It's always fun.
Yeah. Yep. The Discord app is working really well, and we're seeing a lot of positive feedback from that. So make sure you're checking out the Rush Report, seeing what we've got. If you're watching this, I mean, obviously you're keeping an eye on stuff, but I do get weekly texts from a couple people in the league that say, hey, thanks for picking me, or why did you pick against me? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I'll say it again, like I say it every week. If anybody wants to join us for the Rush Report, feel free to hop on. And we've had Shayne on a couple times, but we'll see what happens. If anybody else wants to jump on, feel free to get us in, and we'll get you the link, and you can join us and be a guest picker, just like what ESPN College Game Day does.
That's always a possibility. Listen, just because I pick you doesn't mean it's a curse.
So we'll jump right into this week. This week was looking at the matchups, and there are some interesting matchups. I didn't feel like there was huge matchups, but there is one in the Bigs that I thought was an important matchup this week, and that's actually Daren against Sam. I've given Daren some grief, but Justin Fields might not have won the game, but he had a good fantasy week last week.
I think that's what you're going to run into a lot, though. I mean,
I don't think he's going to be the guy moving forward in Chicago, but he's at least putting up good fantasy numbers.
Tony Romo didn't set the world on fire, but fantasy quarterback week in, week out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes moving forward in Chicago, because they've got to figure something out. I mean, somebody's fighting for their job, whether it's Justin Fields or Matt Eberflus. It'll be interesting to see. And then you've got Lamar Jackson on the other end against the Steelers defense that didn't show up against Houston last week.
Don't you guys have some injury for the Steelers?
We've got some injuries, but also we might still be in Houston because we can't seem to get a plane that actually works.
So let's talk this stuff into their L, Steelers.
Yeah, we're going to do a pick show. I mean, this week's a loss for the Steelers. I'm not going to.
I mean, that bodes well for Lamar.
It does bode well for Lamar. That offensive line is clicking, that offense is clicking, and they're looking scary. I mean, they are maybe they have potential to be a top 3 team in the AFC this year, and maybe push Kansas City for that top spot. I mean, Kansas City has some chinks in the armor. Buffalo looked really good last week. Miami didn't look good. So it'll be interesting to see who takes the top spot in the AFC, because Baltimore's looking like it might be that team.
Could very well be. Time will tell. I mean, we're only at week 5. Got a few, probably week 7, week 8. We really know who is everybody going to be.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not a Lamar Jackson believer yet. I want to see if he can do it all year, but it'll be good. The running backs in this matchup actually are pretty interesting too. Raheem Mostert seems to be playing second fiddle to Devin Achane right now. But against a bad Giants defense, does Raheem Mostert break out? Alvin Kamara, it looks like New Orleans is just going to feed him the ball and feed him the ball and feed him the ball. And Josh Jacobs, I mean, against the Packers' run defense that is hit or miss.
There is no run defense.
Yeah, and then on Sam's side, James Cook has been a nice surprise this year for fantasy owners. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, I still feel like we're waiting to see when he'll break out, but he is a huge breakout candidate this week against the Panthers and their lackluster run defense.
He's a wait and see breakout kind of guy.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. As far as wide receivers go, again, I'm going to say the same thing about DJ Moore that I said for Justin Fields. We've got to see what he can do.
Major upside, but I mean, our next guy is Garrett Wilson. If Garrett Wilson can carry the bag, I think DJ Moore should.
Yeah, I think what you got to see here is Jets play calling get smarter, and I think you saw that against Kansas City Sunday night. Zach Wilson wasn't the reason they lost that game. You can talk about the fumble, you can talk about the pass interference, but Zach Wilson wasn't the reason they lost that game. Zach Wilson put that team in a position to win, and the defense didn't come through. As I said in the Rush Report last week, the Jets think they're the 85 Bears, and they're not the 85 Bears. That defense, there's a lot of chinks in that armor, and I don't like that defense at all. They're not what they were touted to be.
Now Sam's rolling with Hollywood Brown, Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave. I mean, that Tyreek Hill matchup against the Giants is wonderful. I mean, Brown's been impressive. I mean, considering Dobbs is the quarterback.
Dobbs is an impressive quarterback this year. In one league that we're in, Josh Dobbs is a starting quarterback in a 12-team league. So it's interesting to see that and see what he's actually going to do. He's a viable fantasy option this week.
Yeah, the only problem I see with the wide receiver is who's going to be the quarterback this week. Is Derek Carr going to be healthy?
Who is? And we know Bill Belichick always tries to take away the best player. Chris Olave is that guy. And I think look for New England to have a revenge game this week. They looked bad against Dallas. And how often does Bill Belichick look bad 2 weeks in a row?
What was the analogy I heard this week? Bill Belichick is playing with a playbook from 2005. He's a little bit behind the 8 ball. He doesn't have Tom Brady.
Yeah, Mac Jones doesn't seem to be the guy. And there was questions about that when he came out. And it's sad to see, because is this tainting Belichick's legacy? I still think Belichick's not the problem. I think he's figuring out what the best option is at quarterback. And Mac Jones just looks overmatched. And I think we thought he was going to be that way when he came out. But he had that stellar rookie season, led them to the playoffs, and now he's regressed the last 2 years.
If I was Bill, I would give up GM duties. Come on. I think it's becoming too much because it's a different world.
It is. It's no longer plug and play guys. You've got to have a system that fits. And Dallas is a good defense, I'm just going to say. So we'll see what New Orleans does against New England, because we're talking a lot.
We're going off the rabbit trail a little bit. But Hunter Henry for Daren against the Saints. touchdown dependent, but he's looked good. And then Tyler Higbee for Sam against the Eagles.
Yeah, I was going to say both are touchdown dependent. I mean, look at it. Tyler Higbee has probably a little bit more upside, even though they're playing the Eagles defense. That Eagles defense, it's not the same as last year. They're good, but they're giving up big plays.
Higbee's in a more comparable situation.
Yep. And then looking at defenses, you've got Philly's defense against Dallas. Which Dallas shows up this week? I don't like the play of Dallas's defense this week.
No, but that could really hurt him this week.
It could. So, we'll go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to let you pick this one because I really don't know where I'm going to go. I can make a case for both. I mean, MFL says a 3-point spread.
Oh. Looking at Sam's, you have to almost guarantee Tyreek's going to break out and have a 20-point game. That's Lamar's going to have is still going to have that 16, 20 points. It's what Jaguars team is Jahmyr Gibbs going to step up? I mean, I'm leaning towards Daren, even though I'm not really big on the DJ Moore and Justin Fields play.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Sam. I think Sam's gonna advance to 5-0, and look for Sam to actually take a step. I as much as I don't want to admit it, I think this is a make or break week for Lamar Jackson in the AFC North, and I think he takes that step and goes forward. And James Cook looks really good in Buffalo. I think if they want to be competitive, James Cook has to break out. I don't love Dallas's defense, but I don't think it's enough for me not to pick Sam. So I do like Sam this week moving forward. All right. Next, we have the surprising Jeffrey at 2-2 against Micah. Now, Micah's got some bye week things. I know we're doing this on Wednesday night, so some lineups haven't been submitted yet. That does make a difference, but Geno Smith looks good, except he's on a bye week this week, so looks like it's going to be a Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford against the Eagles. How healthy is Matthew Stafford? He may or may not be getting Cooper Kupp back this week.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Puka Nacua looks like he's the real deal. And so if you put Puka Nacua with Cooper Kupp, that's a dangerous combination, especially to make Matthew Stafford look really good.
So it'll be a matter of health, and even without Kupp, he's still that 13 points makes sense. Even maybe 15 points even.
Yeah, I mean against the Eagles, they're going to have to throw the ball, so that makes all the sense in the world.
Problem is Patrick Mahomes this week for Jeffrey.
Soft matchup, and coming off a bad game. Patrick Mahomes did not look good Sunday night. I think he must have had the Taylor Swift syndrome. Maybe.
We're
you feeling me?
So, anyways, running backs. I'm not touching that. Will Herbert for Jeffrey and Jerick McKinnon. Not ideal, but he's got bye week for Austin Eckler, and he's still dealing with injury anyway, so he might impact here versus James Conner and Derrick Henry. Easily Micah has the edge there.
He does, but there's Matt Breida sitting there. The Dolphins' run defense has not been good this year. I mean, the Dolphins' defense in general hasn't been good. And I think it's interesting to point it out that Matt Breida is sitting on Jeffrey's bench, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if Jeffrey started him this week.
Potentially.
But I do like Derrick Henry and James Conner. I mean, I can't believe we're talking about Cardinal players playing significant fantasy roles and playing good in the NFL. They've been a surprise team even at 1-3. They're a legitimate team to win every week. You can't sleep on them. At wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk. Is this a week is this an Ayuk week? Is this a Debo week? Is this a Kittle week? I don't love what's going on in San Francisco just because they're so good at spreading the ball.
I think it'll be even distribution. They are
Yeah, I think that's what you have to see. Devontae Adams playing against Green Bay. It'll be an interesting matchup. And I think what we see with Devontae Adams, it doesn't matter who his quarterback is, whether it's Jimmy G, whether it's Aiden O'Connell, he's still going to get his touches.
I think he'll get his touches. I don't know. I like Devontae, good player. I don't know how much they're going to really rely on the throwing game. I think it's going to be a lot of ground and pound game with Zamir White and Josh Jacobs this week.
I think you're right, but I still think Devontae Adams is a red zone threat, and you've got to take advantage of that. Now, looking at Micah's team, he's got a guy on the bench that I really like in Nico Collins. He's turning into a number one in Houston and looks really good as a juicy matchup against Atlanta this week.
I mean, he has is he a sophomore or junior? I don't know what year he's in.
He's a second-year player, and just looks good.
I have to say, though, CJ Stroud looks pretty good.
He does.
I mean, Carolina, just saying.
Yeah.
Drafted. But the Devontae, even if we plug in Nico Collins against the Falcons, I mean, that's a good matchup. And Calvin Ridley. And Calvin Ridley against the Bills, that's still something.
No Tre'Davious White for the rest of the season, which I think is going to play a little bit of a factor, get Calvin Ridley the ball. And even though it's at Buffalo, it's in England, it's in London, I don't care. This is a home game for Jacksonville. They're just going to be wearing their away uniforms. That's the only difference for this week. And then Gabe Davis is so touchdown dependent. I'm getting tired of Gabe Davis.
You and me both. I almost got burnt by him with Jeffrey a couple weeks ago.
I did get burnt by Jeffrey last week. I'm not bitter, except for the fact that I am bitter because I lost to Jeffrey and I had the points on the bench.
Jeffrey
and then Devontae.
Jeffrey should start branding cooks.
Then Devontae Smith. I mean, Devontae Smith, ever since AJ Brown threw his little hissy fit, it feels like Devontae Smith is an afterthought in that offense.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, Devontae Smith's still a viable option.
He is. And I think they're going to end up throwing the ball more than what you're going to see. Now, tight end, I don't like either of these tight ends. Darren Waller's overrated.
Taysom Hill may or may not play into a factor this week, but I don't really like it. I still trust Dawson Knox over him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then looking at defenses, I understand why you play Buffalo's defense. Buffalo is a top 5 defense, but I don't. At some point, Jacksonville's offense is going to click. I really think it's going to happen. It took 8 weeks last year, and they're a couple close plays away from breaking out. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been the issue. It's been dropped passes. Something like 10 drop passes this year, which you talk 2 or 3 drop passes a game, and a couple of those have been touchdowns. That adds up. So look for Jacksonville's offense to get going. I said that last week and when I wrote it, and Trevor Lawrence played well last week.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, the Dolphins, though, against the Giants, I mean, Danny Nichols is not doing too good.
But it's a 1 o'clock game, so maybe... Nah, it's not going to make a difference. It's Daniel Jones. He's not Mr. $40 million man. But
he looked at the... they were desperate for a quarterback. Either you have a quarterback in this league or you don't.
Yep, and looks like New York doesn't. We'll get into Danny Dimes here. in a little bit. But looking at this, I think this is Jeffrey's matchup to lose. I think Jeffrey gets to 3-2 this week and puts forth a solid performance, and wouldn't be surprised if he cracks triple digits this week.
Micah might be scoring 115, 120 this week versus Jeffrey's 107.
Ooh, a little bit of an upset here.
I think Jarek McKinnon's going to hold Jeffrey back, along with Darren Waller. I think that's going to be enough to hold him back.
All right, this one's a little bit of a tough one, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here going forward. All right, up next we've got Dan against Christy. Now, we just got done talking with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, he's not the guy.
No, Brock Purdy is the safer play.
Brock Purdy's the better play. Brock Purdy, you know what Brock Purdy reminds me of? Brock Purdy reminds me of early 2000s Tom Brady. I think
a safe play. There's going to be games where he's going to get it right around 10 points, maybe only throw a touchdown, and just game manage all day. Other games, he's going to light it up.
Yep. Especially with the way that offense is set up. Kyle Shanahan's a underrated coach in this league, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But Daniel Jones, I don't trust him. I don't care that he can run the ball. If Saquon's healthy, that does make a little bit of a difference. We've seen that, because if Saquon's healthy, there's a check down. But give me Josh Allen this week. I think the game in London is going to be a high-scoring game.
Yes, it more than likely will. Just, Jaguars are at home.
They're home away from home, and I think that does make a difference. Now, at running back, I think it's interesting that Dan's going Jaleel McLaughlin.
He did look good in relief duty, but Williams hasn't been ruled out.
Williams hasn't been rolled out, and I know I'm making fun of the Jets defense, but that front line is still good at stopping the run. They've stopped the run well, unless you're Isaiah Pacheco. But
he's an angry man.
I don't trust Denver at all. There's no part of Denver's offense that I trust. And even with Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't trust him. And Joe Mixon, Cincinnati's not right. There's something wrong with them. Mixon's part of the problem. I think they've got to get him going early, and it seems like they're not getting him going soon enough. But is part of that a little bit of a lack of production? Since we saw Joe Mixon's huge 5-touchdown game last year, he hasn't lived up to that hype. And if you take out that 5-touchdown game last year, he was a middle-of-the-road running back. He wasn't a top-tier running back.
He's not a top-tier running back. He's maybe a top 15 running back. He's a middle-of-the-road guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's because
then David Montgomery.
It's because he's playing for the Bengals.
It is. And I think some of those numbers were inflated. Last year they were playing ahead, so they could get away with running the ball. So, and then you got David Montgomery. David Montgomery, he has been a surprise this year in Detroit. I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was the guy. I didn't think David Montgomery was going to amount to anything. I figured it was going to be
25, 26.
Yeah, but I know they signed him, but I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was going to have David Montgomery. I thought the roles were going to be reversed. That's how I thought.
No, I saw David Montgomery being the ground and pound guy and more of a Jamal Williams type guy. But Jahmyr Gibbs is still learning the league. I think that's just the reason why.
Oh, yeah. On Christy's side, she does have a bye week in Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet's been disappointed this year. I'm just going to throw that out there. I expected more out of him. And maybe after the bye week, Charbonnet starts doing something, but I don't. Why does Seattle keep playing DJ Dallas? That's what I want.
The DJ Dallas move makes no sense. I haven't understood. I mean, Charbonnet is there. Walker is your guy, but you still need a little bit of
Yeah, and then Miles Sanders, he hasn't been bad. He's been serviceable this year. But Christy only having Kendra Miller on the bench, that's a little concerning, especially with Alvin Kamara back.
Yeah, I don't really know what her move will be this week. I don't know what's out there right now.
It'll be interesting. I mean, there are a couple running backs out there, but we'll see what happens. Now, at wide receiver, Lazard and Pittman, I don't trust either of them.
Yeah, Dan's going risky there. I mean, there's no consistency with Pittman, and there's no consistency with Lazard. I dropped Lazard in leagues. As soon as Rodgers got hurt, done.
He's got to do it because he's got bye weeks. I mean, this is his wide receiver bye week with Allen, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, and Elijah Moore all on buys. So I understand it. But Tank Dell, I really like Tank Dell. I dropped him in a couple leagues after week 1 just because he didn't really do anything. But Nico Collins looks good. Tank Dell looks good. Houston's offense, I think they're a year ahead of schedule. And CJ Stroud looks like the real deal.
He does. I mean, Christy's also rolling with Jacoby Myers and Amon St. Brown. Brown may or may not start losing targets in the next couple weeks with what was it? His name?
Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams is back, and he's a good talent.
He is, but I almost think that might open up for Amon-Ra St. Brown too. We have seen it in the past where it might take away targets, but it takes away double coverage as well. And Amon-Ra St. Brown has been double covered quite a bit this year, which is open. And I think you're going to see Detroit opening up a little bit more. And Jacoby Myers, honestly, I didn't love Jacoby Myers coming into the year, but he's getting a lot of good looks. His target share is up, and he's benefiting from not having to be the number 1 like what he was in New England, but he's also benefiting from Devontae Adams getting doubled. And you look now, I'm no football coach, I'm no expert, but if you look at some of the film, Jacoby Myers gets open a lot.
Fair.
So I don't hate the Jacoby Myers play, because Jair Alexander is going to probably follow Devontae. It's going to open up for Jacoby Myers. I like the Jacoby Myers play this week. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I mean, if it was Mingo, I would probably risk it, but he looks like he's banged up this week.
Yeah, and the options of Jonathan Mingo and Wan'Dale Robinson don't do anything for me. I thought Mingo was going to be a little bit better this year, but it seems like he can't stay healthy right now. So look for him maybe to be a second half of the season breakout candidate, but right now you got to sit him. So, and at tight end, do we even have to answer this? It's Travis Kelce.
Yeah, Dan's got the edge with Kelce over Ingram.
Yep. But there's an interesting defensive matchup here. I don't mind the Broncos against that Jets offensive line, but then the Jets against the Broncos. And the Broncos offense hasn't been the problem. Their defense has let them down, but the last couple weeks, the Denver's defense has bailed them out.
But
The fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Jets are going against Denver. So, it's a match made in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, this is your Super Bowl preview to get flushed down the drain. At least the Jets and Broncos this week. Christy and Dan's matchup, though, isn't one to flush down the drain. I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to see where Christy's better. Christy's better at quarterback. I gave Christy the edge at wide receiver. But Dan's running backs are a little bit better, and Travis Kelce, it makes this matchup swing in Dan's favor. But I don't know if I can necessarily pick one guy swinging it. So there's more known answers on Christy's side. I think she'll figure out the running back situation. There's a couple people out there, a couple guys that she can go with. And I'm going to pick her this week. Just a little bit of a hunch. I don't trust Daniel Jones, and unless he puts Brock Purdy in, I don't even see Daniel Jones breaking double digits this week. I'm going to go the anti-Daniel Jones pick anytime I see Daniel Jones starting.
You're going for the happy house pick.
That too.
I'll count that, Christy.
Nick's.
I, in good conscience, don't think Daniel Jones and those wide receivers are going to do anything.
Yeah,
and that leaves 3 players on Dan's team to do something.
Dan didn't break 50 points last week. He didn't score
Bingo.
over 50 points. That
Bingo.
makes a huge difference. And I don't see him. I don't see 97 points on this roster.
Nope.
Even if Kelsey has a good day, I don't see it. So.
Yep. Can't trust the wide receivers. Can't trust Daniel.
Yeah. There's running backs out there. I'm not worried about that. All right. Next up, we've got my matchup with Adam. Now, Adam got lucky last week. Adam got his first win of the season because Dan couldn't score over 50 points. But Adam didn't break 70. If I'm Adam, there's some concerns that I have right now.
He's got a couple plug and plays this week that will kind of help him.
Yeah.
My question is, where are his points coming from?
I'm looking at it.
Even if you submit a lineup of Latavius Murray and for Rashid White and Moore.
I might even start Komet. I might start Komet at flex this week. Komet
7, 13, let's say 15 points on top of his 60. 85. I mean, that's a projection of 85 is really bad.
Yeah. And I look for Kirk Cousins to struggle again this week. He struggled last week throwing those 2 picks. I think Kirk's trying to do a little bit too much right now. It's not a 1 o'clock game, it's a 4:25 game. And I don't love Kirk Cousins this weekend. At some point, I'm going to say this until it happens. Trevor Lawrence is going to break out at some point. Watch for it to happen. And when it does, it's going to be big.
I'll give your Trevor Lawrence 13 points this week.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be even that this week. The Bills' defense is legitimate.
So you have the. I still give you the edge in quarterback play. I don't trust Kirk Cousins against the Chiefs. He's got to prove me wrong.
Okay.
He has not done that this year. He looks like the Kirk that I love to buzz.
Yeah, he had a great first 2 weeks, but they weren't winning games, and then he just tried to do too much week 3, and they finally won last week. But running back, I don't trust Najee Harris anymore. I mean,
he's got Najee Harris against the Ravens and a bye week running back with, as of right now, the only option with Latavius Murray, and you got Etienne and Madison.
Yeah, it seems like Cam Akers isn't really biting into Alexander Madison's workload. Now we're going on 2 weeks of him being in the system, so maybe that's going to make a difference. But Madison hung on to the football last week. He scored at least 11 points. He didn't fumble, which I feel like goes a long way with him. And it's pretty sad now that we're happy that we're talking about a running back who's not fumbling the ball.
We need some pressure.
Maybe that's what he needed. And I'm looking for Etienne to finally have a breakout game. Seems like something's not clicking with him. I don't know if it's because Tank Bigsby's taking touches away around the red zone, but it seems like he's becoming a between the 20s guy, not a true red zone threat.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, wide receivers.
And then
Let's see here. Adams got DeAndre Hopkins. Metcalf's on a bye, so he's got options of Moore, Parker, and Smith-Schuster, or Cole Kmet for a flex, and Josh Reynolds.
Yeah. Debo didn't have
nothing good.
Debo didn't have a good week last week, but I think that's just a result of Christian McCaffrey having a 4-touchdown game. They didn't need Debo to be good. He was dealing with an injury. I look for Debo to bounce back this week. And then Lamb. I'm rocking Romeo Doubs this week. With some uncertainty in Pittsburgh with George Pickens. With the quarterback play, I don't trust Pickens this week, and I love George Pickens, but
Romeo Doubs right now is seemingly the guy that gets most targets, but we'll see how Christian Watson gets sprinkled with. He still had almost 10 points.
Watching Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs, maybe this is a little bit an outdated take, but I kind of felt like it was watching Greg Jennings and Brett Favre towards the end of Brett Favre's career. There's some chemistry there, and I think that goes a long way.
There's good chemistry.
I'm not going to say it's Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams chemistry that was there, but I will say I like the connection that Dobbs and Jordan Love have. I think there's something there. Now, tight ends. Dallas Goedert has been a mess this year.
He's disappeared.
He has disappeared, and I think that might be because of the play calling. Shane Steichen's gone. I don't know. I can't prove it, but I don't like it. I like Sam Laporta.
Your Sam Laporta pickup has been good.
It has been, and watching Laporta last week in that Thursday night game, I felt like it was watching T.J. Hawkinson in the same offense. Like, there's not a missed beat at all with Laporta. He just needs to find the end zone a little bit more, which maybe with Jameson Williams coming back, he might actually see some more red zone targets, as weird as that sounds, because it's going to open up the middle of the field.
No, I didn't realize it. His kicker was on bye as well.
Dicker the kicker.
So, but you got Ravens against the Steelers. The Steelers are gonna, with a backup quarterback, with
this one pained me to pick up Baltimore's defense, but I don't trust Pittsburgh's offense at all. So that way, when at least Baltimore stops Pittsburgh, I have a reason to cheer.
So Keith, we safe to say you're gonna pick yourself?
Yes, I'm picking myself this week. Nick, are you going with the upset special here?
Yeah, no.
All right. Up next, we have Jeromy against Craig, and I love the fact that Jeromy is starting. They won. The only Rookie of the Year so far, C.J. Stroud.
The safe play.
I don't trust Dak anymore. I don't trust anybody in Dallas. Not even I have CeeDee Lamb, and I don't trust him anymore. That's just the way that it is.
But Craig is finally starting Anthony Richardson.
Craig's starting Anthony Richardson because he has to, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it until I looked at it. Craig's sitting at 2-2, but he has the most points scored in the league this year. You go back and look at some of his losses. He's put up 100 points every single week. He's just gotten unlucky a little bit with the way some of the scores have bounced. And Jamar Chase is going to start. I think at some point, Jamar Chase is going to pick it up. I don't know when, but he will.
Yeah, I mean, running backs here: Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones for Jeromy, Christian McCaffrey, and Kyrene Williams for Craig. It's a good running back matchup right there.
It is. I don't love Tony Pollard this week. I feel like 16.5 points for Tony Pollard is high. On the other end, Kyrene Williams with 13. The one thing that the Eagles have done well is stopping the run. And I feel like Christian McCaffrey takes a step back this week against Dallas. I think they're going to zone in on him. And I think if you're Dallas, you have to, because that's a weak.
Yeah, they got to make him throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, it's a weak point. So it'll be interesting to see now where Jeromy lacks with Tony Pollard. I think he makes up with Justin Jefferson, and he made a good pickup of Tyler Boyd this week. I like Tyler Boyd, especially if T. Higgins is going to be out. Tyler Boyd's value goes up, and then Tutu Atwell.
Underrated.
He's underrated. He kind of reminds me of like Wes Welker back in the day. You never wanted him to be your number one receiver, but you wanted to have Wes Welker on your team because Wes Welker could break out or he could do nothing. That's kind of what Tutu Atwell reminds me of. Maybe that's a bad comp, but that's the one that comes to mind right away. Maybe a better comp is Julian Edelman. I don't know. I'm just spitballing there. And then Terry McLaurin against the Bears. I like Terry this week. I like anybody in Washington this week. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Sam Howell start somewhere this week. And then Thielen's been looking really good. He's been a good safety valve for any Carolina quarterback, which he's getting the target share, and it's even if it's only 10 catches for 70 yards, that's 13.5 points right there. So look for that. Look for that to be consistent. Now, I do think it's interesting. Craig starting Dalton Kincaid over George Kittle this week. I don't know if I like that move.
I don't understand it.
I don't either. It seems like Kittle always shows up for Dallas week. Bigger the game, the more you see George Kittle.
You gotta really put your best pieces out there, though.
I
don't think that's doing it.
That might cost. I wouldn't be surprised to see if that's something that cost Craig this week. Because Zach Ertz, he's been getting the ball. He's been getting the target share. Trey McBride has fallen out of favor for some reason in Arizona, and Ertz has become the guy. And look at this defensive matchup. The Lions against the Panthers. That's juicy matchup. Aiden Hutchinson. Is he J.J. Watt 2.0?
He looks really good.
I mean, last week his first sack of Jordan Love, just pulling him down with one hand. He's going to only need one finger with Bryce Love. Or Bryce Young. I can't believe I just said Bryce Love. Bryce Love's going back a few years. And San Francisco's defense, I get why you have to start them. I don't love the matchup. It's Niner Cowboy week. It could be a fluke. It could be. I don't hate it, but looking at this, I'm gonna say the make or break of this matchup is not going to be Anthony Richardson. It's going to be C.J. Stroud. Does C.J. Stroud continue his breakout performance? And I think the answer is yes. And I actually am going to pick Jeromy this week to upset Craig.
I need Craig to stay far away from me, so I'm going to pick Jeromy.
Pick him for the standings. We've done worse. All right. Up next, we got Caleb and Nate. Now, Nate has been bitten by the Joe Burrow injury, and I think if he had started Russell Wilson a couple of those weeks, we're talking about a different lineup or a different record for Nate. Okay, Joe Burrow has been pitiful this year, and I think it goes back to that calf injury of what really has hurt Joe Burrow and his mobility. But Nate right now sitting at 1-3, looking like he needs to get some wins together. And Caleb's sitting at 1-3 right now too. And it's just interesting. I don't know what to think here with Caleb's team. I feel like Caleb's team should be better. It's just not winning.
I think his problem is injuries. Like, he's okay with Jalen Hurts. That's not a bad play. Ramondre Stevenson's a problem. There's lack of consistency. Javonte Williams. It's just not
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good offense. He's not looked healthy. And on the other end, Zach Moss and DeAndre Swift. I was reading something earlier this week. This year has been the year of the mid-range quarterback. DeAndre Swift and Zach Moss are those mid-range quarterbacks that make a difference. So I don't love Javonte Williams this week, not because of the Jets, but because of the injury. How healthy is he? And DeAndre Swift and Zach Moss, they both have juicy matchups against subpar run defense.
Yeah, because Taylor's not coming back this week.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's still out. He's eligible to come back, but still going to be out.
Started practicing, I thought, today.
Yeah, he's off the pup, but he's entered his 21-day window to return to the team, and he still doesn't want to play in Indy. So I think that makes a difference. As far as receivers go, Diggs, Judy, Sutton, I don't love having two receivers from the same team, but maybe this is the week you have two receivers from the same team, so that way Sauce covers one. I don't know. I don't like that play. That's just a personal opinion. I know some people don't care. I don't like having that.
I don't either. If Saquon's healthy, I can see him.
And that's a big
yeah. If Zay Jones is healthy, though, that is the play.
I'd agree with that. Even Tajay Spears is a decent play. He's the breakout. He's the big gainer. So in Tennessee, he's a change of pace, and that does seem to help a little bit. So look for Tajay Spears to have a good game. I wouldn't be surprised to see him. On the other side, Caleb's got DJ Chark, Mike Evans, and Michael Thomas. Mike Evans is on a bye. I was disappointed last week by Mike Evans. I know you can't blame his bad game on because he got injured. There's nothing you can do about that, but I expected Mike Evans to have a huge week last week.
Yeah, I mean, so his flex, I mean, he could either rock A.J. Dillon, Justice Hill. I don't trust any running back right now until further notice. Or Nick Westbrook. I guess that's that one.
Nick Westbrook-Akini?
Yeah, we go.
Yeah.
So A.J. Dillon has not proven himself.
A.J. Dillon's been a big disappointment this year. Justice Hill, which Baltimore running back did you take? I don't hate Westbrook-Akini because it seems like he's overlooked by Burks and DeAndre Hopkins, but he's still getting quite a few of the targets from Ryan Tannehill. I think there's something about the chemistry that he's built up with Tannehill. Tannehill trusts him, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, then you got Nate going with Mark Andrews versus Pat Frymouth, who's got a D listed next to him. So that's not good.
Pat Frymouth is not playing this week. The Steelers said that he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks with an injury. So Kylan Granson, who, I mean, he's getting targets. Good for him.
Mo Kelly.
Mo Alley Cox is still the number 1 tight end there, but Kylan Granson, he's a rookie, so we'll see what happens. But when it comes down to it, is there any way that you see Caleb winning this week?
There is no way Caleb wins this week unless Jalen Hurts scores 30 points.
And even then, I'm not sure if that's enough for Nate to get his second win of the season. All right, and then we have our last matchup in the Vegas. Your matchup with Dave, Mr. Spoiler himself.
Who is going to throw the ball to Devon Achen and Jalen Waddle?
Oh, man, you better hope it's not a Tyreek week. If it's a Tyreek week, you're in trouble. That would make it Tyreek. It would be, though.
But Tua versus Jared Goff. I mean, Tua's got the better matchup. I mean, Goff's still going to get points.
Tua has the better matchup, but can we get off this that Jared Goff's not a good fantasy quarterback?
He's a good fantasy quarterback. Why do you think he's on my team?
He's a top 10 quarterback. I like the way that he's playing. I really do. He got that bust label because LA traded him. I really like Jared Goff, and it's a good matchup this week against the Panthers.
I mean, he's probably going to be the starting quarterback for me going through. I mean, Deshaun's probably going to only fill in as a bye-week guy at this point. He's terrible.
He is. That's a whole nother point. Whole other issue. All right.
So here's a juicy matchup. The running backs. All right. Dave's rolling Brees Hall, Dameon Pierce, Brian Robinson versus Devon Achin, Isaiah Pacheco, and Bijan Lee Robinson.
This might be the best position matchup of the week. Like, looking at it, this easily could have been the game of the week. But I'm going to go back to what I did last week. This is Monday Night Football. We're talking prime time game. Only game on TV. Dave,
Joe Buck
you are
and Troy Aikman.
Joe Buck, Troy Aikman calling this game. Dave, you've hit it. I really hope Dave says something on Discord now because we're pumping this up. Like, this is a highlight Monday night game, and I'm hoping to pump this up just to make your head bigger, Nick, so that way you lose and come back to the pack.
You know, my only thing is though is I'm not happy that the Packers play at Monday night ever. Come on, or Sunday night. I mean, I care less about primetime games. I got better things to do.
I agree. But wide receiver matchup. I mean, AJ Brown and Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua is he's getting compared to Randy Moss, Jerry Rice. Let's halt a little bit before we put Puka Nacua in the Hall of Fame. But Puka Nacua, what is it with Matthew Stafford developing chemistry with guys out of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to go against the Eagles.
Right, but still, it doesn't. It seems like Puka Nacua doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which defense he's going against. He's the real deal. Now, I do find it interesting. Going Jalen Waddle, which obviously you have to, but Christian Watson, what's your rationale there? You think Christian Watson is a better play than Jordan Addison?
Jordan Addison against the Chiefs.
They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Got to think through that.
Well thought through.
Well thought through. Nick is so confident in his Christian Watson take. He's thought through it. You heard it here. Dave, Nick's thought through this. I would be shaking in your boots if Nick thought through this.
Very well thought out.
Very, very well thought out. Dave, I hope you have a comeback for this. Like, oh man, I can't wait to see Discord when we go through this. Dave, please post your response.
Listen. He submitted his lineup before I read it here. Whereas this is when your capture was. Let's see here.
I took this capture.
No. He retaliated and nope, he changed his lineup.
Oh, updated lineup. What do we got here?
He pulled out Dameon Pierce.
Oh, pulled out Dameon Pierce.
Who do you think he put in?
Did he put Cooper Kupp in?
He sure did.
I mean,
I was looking at it, I was like, something's wrong with his lineup. Yeah, he put Cooper Kupp in.
Hey, I can only do so much, all right? We can't do this exactly up to the minute. Maybe we should start just taking it from the website instead of doing it this way, but this does make it look cleaner. I'm just going to say that. But you're right. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Cooper Kupp's in the lineup. Dameon Pierce is out. Ooh, this is even better. Oh, man. Give me Cooper Kupp.
He was trying to keep up. Dave's just trying to keep up with my projection.
Look out if Cooper Kupp's back. Oh, man, it's going to be juicy.
Oh, here's the beautiful thing. He's starting 2 players from the same team. I don't care who they are.
Oh, man, this is too good. So, Nick, are you picking Dave this week?
No, I'm not picking Dave this week. Are you kidding me?
I'm going upset special.
There's no upset.
Dave, I was wrong last week when I said you were snake bit. Please win this game.
Listen,
whatever you do.
He's starting the Cardinals against the Bengals. Watch, Joe Burrow goes off on the Cardinals.
Dave, please.
I'm
win
starting.
this.
I went so far as starting the Commanders against the Bears. That's how confident I was. I can't stand the Bears.
That's not a bad play, though. It's Justin Fields. Just going to say. All right. That brings us to the end of the bigs. Let's go to the Wii League here. We have the Wii League game of the week. Mark Nelson against Owen. Now, these are 2 of the top 3 teams. Owen's in first, undefeated.
There's some really juicy matchups this week.
There were a lot of juicy matchups this week in the Wii League. So, but this one's takes priority. I think you've got number 1 against number 3. If CBS was going to send their top crew, they're sending Jim Nance, Tony Romo to cover this. But there's some things that I don't like about Owen's team this week. You mentioned Kirk Cousins earlier.
The only play he has right now, though.
It is the only play, which I think hurts him a little bit. I do think it's interesting. Not that I would say this. I don't trust Gabe Davis, but I don't like Christian Kirk this week. I don't think Christian Kirk hasn't been Christian Kirk from last year. He's looked more like Arizona Christian Kirk. Gabe Davis is touchdown dependent, but the way Josh Allen's throwing the ball, I do like Gabe Davis a little bit more than Christian Kirk.
That is the matchup. He hasn't changed it yet.
I'm looking at it. He hasn't.
That's interesting on his part.
Yep. And then obviously
it's a good matchup. I mean, the only real point of contention in this matchup is Owen with Kittle versus Mark with Dawson Knox,
and I think I like Evan Ingram
this week. Mark with Patrick Mahomes versus Owen with Kirk Cousins. I mean, unless there's another QB down there, and it doesn't have much of an option.
Yeah, they're probably. I can't say that there is, but even with Tutu Atwell, it's a little bit. It's probably the best play that Mark has. So, looking at this, I mean, obviously you picked yourself in the last matchup, but I'm going to let you start us off in the Wii League. Who do you like more here?
I like Mark. I think the Bills defense is going to play a big play, and I don't like the 49ers versus the Cowboys because of the offensive battle. If Dawson Knox is out, I mean, obviously he's going to put Evan Ingram in.
Yep.
But even so, he might reapproach it. I mean, I think that's just a little bit more on his side.
Yeah. I think the one play that Owen has, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't care that he's questionable. I think he's going to be listed as questionable for the rest of the season. And that Panthers matchup with Jameis Williams coming back, I think that opens it up for Amon-Ra St. Brown a little bit. And I'm gonna pick Owen. I think Owen remains undefeated, and I think that does even with Kirk Cousins. I don't love it, but they're going to have to throw the ball to stay in the game. So I think that's going to inflate his fantasy. All right. Next, we've got two longtime members of this league in Shayne and Bryan. Okay. AI chatbot. I'm still waiting for Stephen A. Smith to make his appearance on the Rush Report. Shayne, can we make that happen? But this is an interesting quarterback matchup. MFL doesn't like CJ Stroud at all, and they have a good matchup this week. Josh Allen is going to do Josh Allen things, but I think it's interesting. Bryan still is starting Dalvin Cook.
I would start Kenny Gainwell.
I would start Kenny Gainwell too.
I mean, he's got Mostert, it's a good play. Shayne's got Pollard and Pierce, full solid plays. But I mean, you got Kyren Williams on the bench for Shayne.
That's an interesting thing to see there. I think I'd start Kyren Williams this week. I like Kyren Williams. Actually, no, I don't know. It's the Eagles. It's against the. I just said that I didn't like them. Never mind. Forget what I just said.
I mean, wide receivers would be interesting though because he's rocking Michael Wilson from Arizona.
Yeah, I don't like Rashid Shaheed starting. Rashid Shaheed is that guy that just goes deep, and with Derek Carr not having a healthy AC joint, even in it's his non-throwing shoulder, I don't like Rashid Shaheed this week. I think he becomes one-dimensional. I think I like Michael Pittman a little bit more. But Shayne has Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson has become a good number 2 in Arizona. I think that's interesting. I think I probably wouldn't start Michael Wilson. I think I would start Hollywood Brown. Just because I think Hollywood Brown has a little bit more of a target share. Does Shayne know something that we don't?
I might even start saying Flowers over that.
That's what I was thinking. So Michael Wilson, he might be playing a hunch. I mean, it's an updated lineup from this morning, so we'll see what happens. But looking at this, I'm gonna take Bryan this week. I think there's something. Even though Dalvin Cook and Raheem Mostert, I don't love those guys. I like Josh Allen more than CJ Stroud. And give me Tank Dell and Deebo Samuel. Both of them had quiet weeks last week. Look for them to have better weeks this week.
I'm going to be in here and I'm going to curse Shayne. I'm going to pick Shayne.
No, switching things up. It's always good when we disagree. All right, up next we've got Chad and Russell Wilson. Or not Russell Wilson, and Mark Friedman. I was looking at Mark Wilson. Looking at Russell Wilson when I said that. So, Chad's got some issues in his lineup, but I also know fantasy football is probably on the back radar with everything going on with Chad and Jessica. So, one of the things that I do love about this is we can say, Chad, we are praying for you and Jess, and praying for the safety and health of Jessica as it looks like you'll be spending the next couple weeks at Krause. So know that, Chad. Know that we're praying for you. So
life comes before football.
Absolutely. Family before football all the time. But can I just say, getting back to football, Chad's team has done really well.
And the top scoring team still in the league.
He's the top scoring team in the league.
Top and
there are some issues though. He doesn't have a quarterback this week. Justin Herbert's on bye. Deshaun Watson's on bye. So he's gonna have to go find a quarterback. I'm sure there's one out there.
Pretty much, other than maybe Cortland Sutton, you flipped for Christian Watson. That would be the only change you need to make on this team.
You are so big on Christian Watson this week.
Go away. Dalton Schultz actually would be a nice play too.
I don't hate Dalton Schultz. He's a safety valve for C.J. Stroud, and I think that's partly what has kept C.J. Stroud being
By the
healthy
way,
this
if Christian
year.
Watson goes off for 15 points this week, I don't know.
I was going to say, what's coming?
I want a lobster roll.
All right, then come get it. You come, I'll buy. All right? I just said that. On the other end, Mark's got Russell Wilson, who Russell Wilson hasn't been the issue. I know Denver's getting a lot of bad rap right now. That offense hasn't been the issue. That defense can't stop anybody. Justin Fields lit them up for 3 quarters. Russell Wilson isn't the issue. So I like the play this week of Russell Wilson. I do like Jahmyr Gibbs. We talked about that. And Pacheco. I like Mark's running backs. I like Mark's receivers. Even though DK Metcalf is on bye, he can put in DeAndre Hopkins and Jordan Addison. I like Addison because of the matchup. They're going to be throwing the ball this week. I like that. When you're down, your receivers have to throw. You have to throw the ball to get back in the game, and that gives you the opportunity to score more fantasy points if you're a receiver.
Yeah, he doesn't have he hasn't submitted the lineup yet, but he's got Zach Ertz sitting there on the bench.
Yeah.
It's a good.
And I get
play.
why Zach Ertz wasn't started last week, because there were some injury concerns going into last week. So, MFL says this is going to be a low-scoring matchup. I don't see it that way. Chad's got a really good team, but I
Chad
don't
could still
know.
break 100 without a quarterback.
Chad could still, and it's not out of the realm of possibility at all. Like, oh man, this is a tough one. Like, I don't know who the quarterbacks are available in the Wii League. I like Russell Wilson this week. Give me Mark. I'm going to call upset special right here in the Wii League. Give me Mark against Chad.
I think Chad will at least submit a lineup, so I'm still going to go stick with Chad.
Yeah. Yep. All right. And then next up, we've got Matt against Coleman.
So Matt's going to win this week.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Reach out. I don't know. So if you're watching this, somebody want to help Coleman out, help him get back into the swing of things. He doesn't have a bad team. There's pieces there that he can put together a good team. I'm not I'm looking at it. This is a winnable matchup. MFL doesn't think so, but there's pieces there to make this matchup a winnable matchup. So, but I'm just trying to see if there's anything that we didn't talk about. The only name that I see that we didn't really talk about is TJ Hawkinson, and I like Hawkinson for the same reason I like Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson.
He's had some good plays this year. He's been very consistent.
Yep, TJ Hawkinson has been the number one guy. So, unless if we see a little bit of a lineup change, I do like Matt this week.
Until further notice, it's Matt.
Yep. All right, and our last, I think is this our last or second last matchup? I lost track. We've got Lincoln and do we have a name change?
No, this is the second to last. We missed. There's one we haven't done here yet.
We have not seen Dylan the Hertz. That's Brandon. All right.
Yeah, we haven't.
I knew
we haven't done Daniels and.
Yep. Yeah, so we have one more. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's been a long time already. It's only Wednesday. All right. Trevor Lawrence against Jalen Hurts. It's Jalen Hurts, but I'm telling you, Trevor Lawrence is breaking out at some point. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen.
You say so.
Let's hope it's soon. But give me Trevor Lawrence over Danny Nichols every day, any day. Jahan Dotson's in this lineup. I do like Jahan Dotson this week. I don't care that he's questionable, questionable doesn't scare me anymore. It's doubtful that concerns me. It's a Thursday night game. I think he didn't practice just to try to not get hits. Okay, I like Jahan Dotson, and he and Sam Howell are developing a little bit of chemistry. Just gonna throw that out there. Nothing? Anything?
We'll see.
We'll see. On the other side, Cole Kmet. Always seems like we're waiting for Cole Kmet to break out, and maybe last week he did. So, give me that. I do like Gus Edwards. As weird as that sounds.
Again, I don't trust anybody in that line, in that running backfield.
I don't either, but at some point, somebody's got to take over, and Gus Edwards always seems to be the guy that gets overlooked.
I mean, this is the week that Brandon needs it. It's definitely it.
Yeah, I agree. But with this matchup and with this lineup, I'm going to take Brandon. I don't see a way that Lincoln wins this week.
No, there's question. I mean, he needs a kicker is one thing, but another wide receiver, maybe
I don't even like
17
don't
points.
like the defense matchup.
No,
I don't like the defense matchup this week. Give me the Lions against the Panthers. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon's got the weak running back situation, but there's enough there.
Yeah, and that brings us to our last. This one is officially our last one. Victor against
Daniel.
I mean, Victor is putting together good lineups. I mean, he's got a good roster. It's just hoping everybody plays together. The one area that he is the weakest is running back. But even then, I mean, fantasy-wise, Justin Fields looked good last week.
Yeah, so Victor has 396 points to Daniel's 365, and Daniel's 2-2 versus Victor being 1-3. I mean, so this could be the week for him.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see the play up. Like, we're going to start paying attention to points for more than just as much as record, because that does matter when it comes to playoff time and seeding. So, Justin Fields against Tua, that's a good quarterback matchup. I like to say it. Can I say it's Tua? I was trying to make a case for Justin Fields.
But there's
I can't.
He's terrible.
He's terrible, but at least he can play for 3 quarters. Running backs, give me Derrick Henry and Miles Sanders. I don't trust Zeke. Travis Etienne, it's a wait and see with him. But receiver, I like Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin. That duo, I'll take that duo over CeeDee Lamb and Michael Thomas, because I don't trust Michael Thomas that much.
I mean, so there's with Mike Evans being on bye, I would imagine Brees Hall's in this lineup.
Yeah, you can, or even looking at
Brees Hall for Daniel, and then Romeo Doubs for Kenneth Walker for Victor.
Yep, that's fair, and that makes it even better. Like, give me Devontae Adams, Romeo Doubs, and Terry McLaurin over CeeDee Lamb and Michael Thomas. Like, I don't trust Michael Thomas anymore. He's not the guy that he was 5 years ago. So, and then tight ends. Laporta's good, but he's not Travis Kelce.
True. It's almost a wash, though.
We'll see. Laporta needs to get in the end zone to make it a wash. So, and with the way that David Montgomery's running the ball in the red zone, that's taking away Laporta's touchdown catches. So, looking at this could be a very close matchup. Very close.
Unless Anthony Richardson is started in Victor's lineup with Romeo Doubs, then he doesn't have a shot. But Daniel right now only really needs to plug and play on Mike Evans with Breece Hall, which is a simple fix, and that gives Daniel a win this week.
I'm going to say, even with Justin Fields, Victor has a chance to win.
Justin Fields has single-digit points written all over him.
Ooh, bold, 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 bold. There's Nick's bold taking.
It's my fandom showing a little bit.
It is, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has single-digit points, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he has 25 points. Like, Justin Fields is so hit or miss. And because of that, I'm going to take Victor. I think if you plug and play Romeo Doubs for Kenny Walker, I'm going to take Victor this week just to throw it off a little bit, but also I wouldn't be surprised to see him win this week. So we'll see what happens.
The bold move.
It is a bold move. All right. So that brings us to the end. What are you looking forward to this weekend as we head into week 5 and really start entering the bye weeks, but also start seeing really where teams are at?
Yeah, you're going to see more of a gel and game plan for every team, and who you can count, who you can't count on. I mean, they're breakout players that are going to come be here and there, but they're not going to be consistent players. So looking for the general consistency in week 5.
Yeah, I'm looking to see some rookies take off. Maybe that you expected to and haven't because of injuries or just needed time to develop. I'm thinking Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnson, even though the Chargers are on a bye. At some point, I think Kendre Miller starts getting some role in New Orleans. They can't ride Alvin Kamara into the ground every single play. And I think they drafted Kendre Miller for a reason.
I think you could see it this week if Derek Carr is not playing, because they're not going to be able to run Alvin Kamara that much, and with Jamal Williams still hurt.
Yep. So we'll keep on looking at this and then go from there to see who's going to be the breakout and who's going to be the bust. Who's going to be the Kyle Pitts this week?
Who's going to be the Kenny Pickett this week?
Okay. Mitchell Trubisky is going to be the Kenny Pickett. I'm just going to say.
Fair.
All right. We might see Mason Rudolph this week in Pittsburgh.
We also might be seeing Christian Watson score 15-plus points.
Well, wish there was an unbiased Packer fan here to see which one's more realistic. Christian Watson score 5 points or 15 points. I feel like it's 5 points.
Closer to 15 points.
All right. That brings us to the end of the Rush Report. Dave, I really hope that you say something. I will be sorely disappointed if you say nothing. So this might be one of those.
Less
Nick,
is more.
Your matchup.
Less is more.
Nick, your matchup, I may just blast it on Discord this week. We'll see what happens. All right. Thanks again for suffering through another Rush Report. We will be back next week with another edition of the Rush Report.